said the trail was easy, a loop, a day out, a place to breathe. But she woke one morning and could not remember why a small boy once called her Mama June. The name sat in her mouth like something you can't swallow. Find somewhere dark and quiet. Put your headphones on. Listen closely now. I'm Samnang. And this is nature's dread. Tonight's walk is called the Minute Trail.
Claire liked lists, sticky notes on the fridge, a notebook in her bag, names she used like anchors. She worked at a plant nursery, handled soil and seedlings, and on Saturdays she hiked the local loop to unlace the day's noise. The mountain smelled of wet pine and warm stone. Crows argued from the ridge. The loop was short, popular with families and dog walkers, and near the third switchback, a narrow, unnamed spur folded away like a secret.
The first thing the spur took was small, a lyric in the middle of a hike. Claire hummed along, and then the line broke. She laughed it off. "I'm tired," she said. But that night at the sink, she couldn't remember the woman who delivered her mail. A face she'd seen for years, blurred like wet ink.
Small losses stacked. A child's nickname first, then the scent of her mother's perfume. The notebook she kept turned from a joke into a ledger. Things gone. Dates. The spur's visits. She would write, "Lost," song lyric. She would write, "Lost," Mrs. Haynes' face. Each entry read like a small funeral.
Friends had explanations. Stress, her sister said. Screens, her boss suggested. Claire went to doctors. Tests came back ordinary. Nobody could point to a cause. But the spur's pattern kept opening and closing, taking little doors from her life and never leaving a key.
The town had quiet stories. The hardware store man would tell you in a low voice, "Leave the minutes where they are," and then he would change the subject. The cafe woman slid Claire a folded clipping, tiny police notes about hikers who returned with hours missing, people who forgot their own addresses for a week. Once, someone claimed the engraving on their ring had altered. No big headlines, just margins and whispers. Claire read them all until she could no longer remember where she'd saved the papers.
I want you to imagine the ledger inside someone's head. What feels like a mistake, one missing name, becomes a room in a house you no longer recognize. How do you live when your past keeps emptying out? Claire learned the answer the hard way. You either give up space, or you keep fighting to fill it.
Then she made a choice.
She didn't stumble onto the spur by accident. She went back on purpose. Why? Because a blank line sat at the center of her nights, and she couldn't sleep with it there. She packed a pen, a notebook, a pebble. She told her sister, "I'll be fine," and left anyway. The spur feels different the moment it takes you. The underbrush closes like a curtain. Birds fall silent. Light skews. Sun through lichen becomes a green half-light that folds time inward. Claire walked slowly. At first she tried to map it like a trail. Step, tree, marker. Then she realized mapping did not help. The place rearranged perception. Her footfalls stopped matching memory. She pressed a pebble into the soil and whispered a name she was terrified to lose. A twig snapped nearby, and she turned. Nothing there. But the memory itself, the warmth of a voice, the curve of a child's grin, felt like a thing being taken, not stolen, but slowly erased, like someone running a finger along chalk until the line disappears. She tried bargaining with the place. Claire spoke aloud. She offered small things in exchange. "Take 1 minute," she said, "but leave the rest." The hill listened without answering. Then she felt it, a soft shift beneath her ribs, as if a clock's hand moved inside her. For a single heartbeat, she saw the boy smile in bright color. Then it bled away.
On a later visit, she found a tiny bent watch hand in the dirt where she'd pressed her pebble. Numbers had been worn away. She pocketed it, and for a moment it felt like proof. Something here had weight and shape. But that was only proof that the spur kept accounts, not that those accounts were fair.
Claire began to leave anchors, notes taped to trees, little reminders to herself, Mom's laugh, maple syrup mornings, June's bike address. Sometimes the notes anchored a memory. Sometimes they dissolved in a day. Once she followed one and found a child's drawing stuck under a stump. 2 stick figures holding hands, tender and unknown. She could not place who had drawn it, but when she held it, she felt the ache of what she'd lost. You know that feeling when a name is on the tip of your tongue and the world tilts until it snaps into place? Imagine that name never snaps back.
There is a scene I added because it matters. Claire sat on her sister's couch and read out loud from the notebook. "Who sells the plant pots?" she asked, genuinely blank. Her sister blinked. "You know, the nursery, your work," she said. Claire's voice tightened. "I remember working there, but not the name. I can't find it." Her sister reached across and set a hand on hers. "We are here," she said. "We don't have to remember everything at once." The tenderness didn't fix the missing pieces, but it changed the gravity of her solitude for a moment. Back on the trail, sounds shifted in odd ways. A far-off stream could sound like something behind you. Footsteps matched and then mismatched. Once, mid-climb, she heard slow steps that matched the forest's breathing. She stopped. The steps stopped. A noise like someone closing a book, and when she looked down, a child's mitten lay half-buried. It was ordinary, embroidered with a small sun, and it set something raw to singing in her chest. For a moment, she smelled a kitchen she could not name. Then the smell went. The choice to try and take things back turned into a lesson on cost. Memories are not coins you can casually spend. They're more like whole rooms that hold people. Claire gave up small facts to regain sharper moments of feeling. A child's laugh, a single afternoon, and each trade rearranged her map. After one swap, she could recall a summer with vivid color, but could no longer say the nursery's exact address. Her life resembled a bookshelf with missing spines.
Friends began to drift because shared history became difficult. Photographs remained, but her place in them felt like a role she couldn't remember rehearsing. There was no single monstrous face at the center of this. The spur acted like a ledger, indifferent. Some townspeople said it punished greed. Others said it balanced debts. The hardware store man shrugged and said, "Nature keeps its own books." Claire kept hiking because leaving felt like surrender. She kept the bent watch hand on a chain, a private talisman against a world that had started losing its edges.
Months later, she found a mitten behind a sofa cushion, ordinary, tiny. When she breathed it in, a faint kitchen smell came through, the same phantom scent she'd caught on the trail. For a pulse, she could see a child's face, half remembered, and then a sound like knuckles on wood came from somewhere far away, soft and deliberate. It was a sound that made her notebook feel heavier, like an account still open.
A brief, sensitive note. This is a fictional story that uses memory loss as a device. If these themes are difficult for you, please check the episode notes for resources. No real person's medical condition is dramatized here.
If you found yourself holding your breath, that's the trail doing what it does, making small absences loud. I'm Samnang. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who listens in the dark, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, check the corners. The night remembers. Good night.
Soon, footprints on a beach that lead to a place no map will show. You're going to want to remember this one.